But staying with free agent markets that are moving pretty slowly, the running backs, we're seeing the same thing there as we're seeing with the receivers. We saw Aaron Jones get extended right before the tampering window opened. He's staying in Green Bay, but on a very team friendly deal. And then outside of that, it's like guys like Jamal Williams leaving Green Bay to go to Detroit, Devontae Booker headed to the Giants, Carlos Hyde, we mentioned him with the Jacksonville Jags, and then Kyle Juszczyk, he hit a pretty decent deal, but he's a fullback and he only is going to be good in that San Francisco 49ers offense. Uh, my favorite of the signings so far might be Malcolm Brown. I think he's still a solid running back, and he might actually get an opportunity with Miami until they draft a guy, because I feel like that's what happens with Malcolm Brown. He signs a deal, and then the team drafts a rookie running back. So a lot of big names out there, a lot of interesting names. Is there any names you're hoping to see, or is any signings you like so far out of the running back group?
Well, let me just say to anybody listening right now, I know we keep saying there's big names out there and stuff, which sounds promising, but actually listen to this list of names. The remaining free agents, just the notable ones: Kenyon Drake, Chris Carson, Leonard Fournette, Philip Lindsay, Todd Gurley, Duke Johnson, Tevin Coleman, James White, Mike Davis, Le'Veon Bell, Wayne Gallman, James Conner, and Damian Williams. That is an insane list of running backs. I'm pretty sure I've had every one of them on a fantasy team at some point within the last 3 years. It's crazy that this many good running backs are out there and no one's willing to pay them. I understand the whole mentality of in the NFL, you don't pay running backs, you just don't do it. I was having a conversation with my girlfriend the other night saying that I think that you only pay running backs if they're on that next level. If you think they're a game changing running back, guys like Aaron Jones, guys like Derrick Henry, guys like Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, those guys that can actually change the face of your game based off of how they do, those guys deserve to get paid. After that, guys, I mean, Todd Gurley used to be that, but he is really not anymore. But guys like Kenyon Drake, Chris Carson, Leonard Fournette, all of them really depend on an offensive line. If you have a good offensive line, any one of these guys can succeed. And if you don't have a good offensive line, any one of these guys can struggle, because I don't feel any of them are game changing guys. So I believe because of that, you can't really pay one. If you can succeed with any one of these, why would you pay up to have a certain one? It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't think that this is going to change anytime soon. I think a lot of these guys are going to have to take some cheap deals, some 1 year deals. They're going to have to take less than what they expect. But um, it's just, wow, what a crazy list.
I think the person who really makes this list come together is someone who held out an entire season to try to earn it for the running backs and show how much value they have. And you said Le'Veon Bell, and he's a free agent again, and he held out for all that money, saying how he can do everything. He can run the ball, he can catch the ball, he can play wide receiver even. Ended up sitting out a year, going to the Jets for less money than the Steelers offered him when he sat out, and then played poorly.
And the Jets
Not
hated
really
him.
like worst running back in the league, and the Jets hated him. Not really worst running back in the league, but not worthy of that contract, and that's why he got traded to the Chiefs and is now a free agent. Like, him and his story is really a story of why the running back doesn't get respect. There's the top 5 in the league, and you see them all with contracts. The Derrick Henrys, the Christian McCaffreys, etc. And then there's all these other guys who, while they might be 3-down backs, a lot of them are more specialized. Kenyon Drake's more of a power guy. Chris Carson could be a 3-down back. I like Chris Carson a lot. But Leonard Fournette's more of a power guy. Philip Lindsay's more of a pass catcher. James White's definitely a pass catcher. Mike Davis can probably be more of a power guy. So, like, they're going to be pieces in an offense instead of a entire offense built around them. And that's why they're not going to get the money they deserve, even though I think a lot of these guys are very talented. It's just the running back position is not coveted in this league anymore. And it's really, you have to prove yourself in that first few years and be able to keep up that kind of level of competition for a long period to really get respect in that position in this league.
And I
Yeah,
think
you
teams
make
like the
some
Green
great
Bay
points.
Packers actually ruin the free agent market because of the fact that Aaron Jones last year was phenomenal. He was exciting to watch. He was lighting up the stat sheet. And then when he went down, Jamal Williams started and did the same thing. Just lit up the stat sheet. Looked great. When they were up in games, they decided to put in A.J. Dillon sometimes. And he did great. He looked awesome. He lit up the stat sheet. So do you think that Jamal Williams is on the same level as Aaron Jones? No, I don't think any of us would say that. Do we think he's good? Sure. Is he as good as Aaron Jones? No. But Jamal Williams was able to come in and do exactly what Aaron Jones was doing as well. Now, I understand both of them did get signed. But when you have situations like that where a mid-level running back can perform at the same level as a high-level running back, why would you pay a high-level running back?
Yeah, and honestly, we said it all off season long. Speaking of Aaron Jones, I was always saying in my head it doesn't make sense. In my heart, I hope we do it. Just because Aaron Jones is such a great dude on and off the field, he is a very talented running back, and he offers help in all three phases. And they were able to work it out that he got a team friendly deal. It's 4 years, 48 million, but it's only 13 million guaranteed, and it's essentially a 2-year, $20 million deal, and $10 million for an elite player that's going to be an asset in the run game and the pass game isn't that egregious. But speaking of running backs, a team I go back to is the Cleveland Browns. If we look at that team last year, they completely turned their franchise around after years of being very bad on the backs of two running backs. So I think one of these guys, maybe it's a Chris Carson, he should just sign and join with another team. Maybe it is the cap year as well, as we're saying. But I think we saw it with the Packers. They signed Aaron Jones despite drafting a rookie running back in the second round last year. Teams realize that the day of elite number one running backs is gone. Outside of Derrick Henry, who is 300 pounds and runs a 4.4, and takes all the snaps, but he can't catch out of the backfield very well. He might catch a screen here and there, but that's not his game. But besides the point, even Alvin Kamara, he was spelled by Latavius Murray last year. Ty Montgomery got some snaps. Dalvin Cook, everyone says in fantasy, you need to sign Alexander Mattinson. Is Alexander Mattinson as good as Dalvin Cook? Absolutely not. So, but I think we're seeing teams are shifting to more of a two running back or running back by committee or two starting caliber running backs, and there's a lot of players available, like your Kenyon Drakes, Chris Carsons, Leonard Fournettes, that are going to go to a team and make an impact in 2021.
I will say that I personally believe of the guys that I mentioned that are available, Philip Lindsay is the guy that I hope the most for, because I think Philip Lindsay is the guy that just goes out there and just performs and just does well and then continues to get replaced despite never losing a job. And the guy that I think is the most overrated on this list, and I've thought he was overrated pretty much since he's been drafted, and it's not because of the team that I'm a fan of, Leonard Fournette. I mean, every time he goes to a team and every time he finally gets that starting role, I feel like you expect, like, oh man, Fournette's in. It's about to be a big game. And it's just kind of lackluster. It's just kind of disappointing. Not only does he have some injury issues, but I mean, every running back's going to have that at some point. But I just feel like he's never performed up to the level that you expect. He is a big dude. He's a big running back, and he can't run anybody over. He's quick, but he's not outrunning anybody. And he had a good team that was creating enough room for Ronald Jones, who I still to this day don't think is that great of a running back. And Ronald Jones looked great, but Leonard Fournette was still lackluster and disappointing. I think Fournette's one of the most overrated on this list, but he's still probably going to get paid more than everybody else on the list.
Yeah, I think Leonard Fournette, I think Leonard Fournette's a talented running back. I think he gets overshadowed because the Jaguars took him number 4 overall, which was a questionable move at the time. Going back to the Jaguars just make bad moves. We've talked about that pretty much all episode. But I see what you're saying. I disagree a little bit. You mentioned that all these running backs need offensive line. I feel like every running back needs an offensive line. I don't care how good you are. If you're not getting some sort of protection, you're not going to be very successful. It is still a team game. But Leonard Fournette will probably make the most money on this list just based off his playoff numbers. He had, playoff Lenny. He had some statistically good games. I did see an interesting report, though, that James White has interest in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Surprise, surprise. So I could see that one. And I did see
Go
Leonard
figure.
Fournette has some interest in the New England Patriots, which I feel like he is the same running back as Sony Michel and Damian Harris. So fantasy owners, the Patriots running back field is not going anywhere. So have fun with that one.
Yeah, I feel like, Cody, you are 100% spot on with the fact that I feel like the NFL is shifting to every team being more of a 2 or 3-headed monster at running back rather than that primary back that we're so used to seeing. And fantasy owners, that just means that this is going to get harder and harder to figure out, and it's going to get painful.
Just make sure if you have a top 3, top 4 pick in fantasy, you're taking one of those top running backs who still happens to be a bell cow. And like I think Cody's about to say there, we are going to start breaking down some fantasy drafts, where you should take people, what you should do when we get later into the off season. So stick with us. It's going to be a fun one for all of us to navigate. We can all, get headaches and scratch our heads over it later.